Are you the type of player who wants to become the wall for your teammates, the great protector that allows them to function at their best? Well then, the Sentinel is a subclass for you. In this video, I will explain all the components of Sentinel so that you can start making builds or improve your general game knowledge. A disclaimer before we begin. Destiny is a game that constantly changes and evolves. As such, the information in this video may become less accurate the further in the future you are watching this. Therefore, I would always double check to ensure that the information presented is still accurate. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Before we get into the specifics of Sentinel, I think it's important to get an overview of the Void subclass in general. Void is one of the 3 light subclasses, alongside Solar and Arc. Void, although not as potent as Solar, still performs really well in the current sandbox. It has verbs to debuff enemies, crowd control, add clear, provide healing and extra resistances. It is also the only subclass that allows you to go invisible. This allows it to perform generally well as it has a way to deal with most situations. Now that we have a rough overview on the Void subclass, let's begin by defining the subclass verbs that's relevant for Void. Firstly, let's talk about Devour. While Devour is active, killing an enemy grants you 100 HP. The base duration of this buff is 10 seconds, but it can be extended to 15 seconds through the Echo of Persistence. Scoring kills also extends its duration by 5 seconds or 8 seconds with the Echo of Persistence, and it also grants grenade energy. The values are shown on screen. The next one to talk about is Overshield. Overshield grants you an extra 45 HP for 10 seconds on top of your health and shields. Overshield also reduces the damage that you receive from combatants by 50%. You cannot gain Overshield while in a healing rift. The final buff that Void has is Invisibility. This turns you invisible to enemies and they will not be able to determine your location. To other Guardians, your model will simply be invisible with the exception of a light shimmer, and you will not constantly ping their radar. Any offensive actions will immediately end your invisibility. Your radar range is also limited to 24 meters while invisible. The first Void debuff that you can apply on opponents is Suppression. Suppression means that the target is knocked out of any active abilities and can't activate abilities for as long as suppression persists. This includes supers, and super will not be refunded if you are suppressed out of it. Enemy combatants will be disoriented and any overload champions will become stunned upon being suppressed. The next debuff that you can apply on enemies is Volatile. When you afflict a target with Volatile, they will be afflicted with unstable Void energy and explode, dealing 160 Void damage to nearby enemies upon taking 190 damage or on death. It will harmlessly expire after a certain amount of time has passed. The exact value has not been determined for PvE yet. Volatile can only be reapplied 1 second after a detonation. Barrier champion shields are able to be damaged while Volatile rounds are active, stunning the champion when destroyed. The final Void debuff is Weaken, which makes afflicted targets take 15% more damage and have 20% decreased movement speed for 5 seconds. Combatants are less accurate. The class-specific pickup that the Void subclass uses is the Void Breach. Picking up a Void Breach grants 12.5% class ability energy on pickup. Allies do not receive any Void Breach you create and they last 25 seconds before disappearing. Creating a Void Breach incurs a 5-second cooldown upon creation. Now that we have explained all the Void verbs and pickups, let's continue by talking about all the Void grenades, as this is also shared by all the Void subclasses. Axion Bolt Grenades releases 2 bolts that seeks nearby enemies. This grenade does 575 base damage and has a base cooldown of 152 seconds. Magnetic Grenades will stick on impact and then explode twice, with each explosion doing 472.5 base damage. The base cooldown is 105 seconds. Scatter Grenades releases 8 drones on impact. Each drone explodes twice, dealing 115 base damage with the first explosion and 69 base damage with the second explosion. The base cooldown is 105 seconds. Spike Grenades will stick to surfaces, emitting a torrent of Void Light after 0.783 seconds, with the Echo of Remnants reducing this activation time by 0.083 seconds. This Void Light deals 80 base damage every 0.217 seconds, up to 19 times over 3.9 seconds, or 26 times over 5.43 seconds with the Echo of Remnants. The base cooldown is 121 seconds. Suppressor Grenades will apply suppression on detonation for 10 seconds to any enemy hit by the grenade's explosion. It deals 863 base damage and its base cooldown is 121 seconds. Void Wall Grenades deal 171 damage 0.117 seconds after detonation. This activation time is reduced by 0.051 seconds with the Echo of Remnants. The Void Light takes 18 times, dealing 120 damage every 0.117 seconds over 3.48 seconds. This is increased to 28 times every 0.051 seconds over 5.63 seconds with the Echo of Remnants. The base cooldown is 121 seconds. The final grenade is the Vortex Grenade. This grenade deals 173 base damage on initial detonation and pulls any nearby enemies after 0.833 seconds or 0.767 seconds with the Echo of Remnants. This will continue to do 69 base damage every 0.27 seconds up to 17 times over 4.2 seconds to enemies inside it. This increases to 25 times over 6.45 seconds with the Echo of Remnants. Now that we have covered the grenades, let's talk about our melee abilities. Sentinels have access to two abilities, Shield Bash and Shield Throw. Shield Bash is a shoulder charge that does 596 base damage and 217 base AoE damage. It grants a 45 HP overshield on kill and also suppresses any enemy's hit. The base cooldown is 91 seconds. Shield Throw does 332 base damage and grants a 15 HP overshield per hit. It can bounce off surfaces as well. It also has a base cooldown of 91 seconds. Next, let's move on to the class abilities, which the Sentinel has access to two, Towering Barricade and Rally Barricade. Towering Barricade creates a wall of light that blocks all incoming projectiles. Both barricades grant a 20% damage resist during the cast animation and last for 20 seconds with 500 HP. The base cooldown is 48 seconds. Rally Barricade deploys a smaller barricade that grants 30 stability, 100 reload speed, 0.9x reload duration multiplier, 10% increased damage falloff, and 50% flinch resistance. The base cooldown is 38 seconds. The final abilities we would need to discuss would be the two Sentinel supers, Sentinel Shield and Ward of Dawn. Sentinel Shield grants you 90% damage resistance with a base duration of 17 seconds. Your light attacks drain 4.5% of your super energy with the final hit in the combo draining 2% super energy. On the ground, it is a 3-hit combo that deals 492 damage and 528 damage, and in the air, it's a 2-hit combo that does 492 base damage. The final hit in the combo deals 936 base damage. The heavy attack creates an impenetrable barrier that allies can shoot through. It drains 6% energy on block and drains 20% faster if no allies are nearby. Allies standing behind the barricade are granted 40% increased damage, 50 handling, and 50 reload speed. Pressing your grenade button performs a shield throw that deals 495.3 base damage and can ricochet on impact. The base cooldown is 556 seconds. The final Sentinel super that we need to learn about is Ward of Dawn. This creates a dome with a radius of 3 meters that grants a 300 HP overshield and protects from outside damage. Passing through the dome grants Weapons of Light that grants 25% increased damage for 15 seconds. Being inside the dome grants 50 handling and 50 reload speed. Ward of Dawn receives 600% increased damage to 75% reduced damage based on the Titan's Resilience stat. The base cooldown is 455 seconds. Alright, we have covered all the abilities that are available to a Sentinel. Let's talk about things that may add more abilities or modify existing abilities, which are aspects and fragments. I will cover the aspects first. Sentinels have access to 3 aspects, each one giving you the ability to slot 2 fragments. You may freely choose 2 to use at any given time. These aspects are Bastion, Controlled Demolition, and Offensive Bulwark. Let's begin with Bastion. Bastion grants nearby allies overshield on supercast. Having Bastion equipped will also enhance your barricades, granting a 45 HP overshield for you and allies on cast for 10 seconds. It also generates 10 HP overshields per second. It also increases the cooldown of Towering Barricade to 100 seconds and Rally Barricade to 80 seconds. Controlled Demolition causes void ability damage and void explosions to apply volatile to enemies. Volatile explosions that occur near you will restore 90 HP for you and allies within 40 meters of you. Finally, let's talk about Offensive Bulwark. This allows your Sentinel Shield super to gain an additional shield throw. While Void Overshield is active or inside a Ward of Dawn, you gain 400% additional base grenade regeneration rate, 100% melee damage, and increases melee lunge rate to 5.5 meters. Unpowered melee hits will also count as powered melee hits, except when using Doomfang Pauldrons. Melee kills refresh 6 seconds of overshield duration up to 20 seconds. Now we move on to the final part of this deep dive into the Sentinel, which are the fragments. Sentinels share the same fragments with the other 2 Void subclasses, Night Stalkers and Void Walkers. If you already know what these fragments do by watching those subclass breakdowns, then you may feel free to skip this section. I will try to cover all the fragments concisely but still delivering the relevant details to you. I will also note any stat buffs or debuffs that the fragments confer to you on screen. Let's begin alphabetically with the Echo of Fixation. Echo of Fixation allows your finishers to apply Volatile to nearby enemies. Killing enemies afflicted with Volatile spawns a Void Breach. Echo of Dilation sets your crouch speed to 4 meters per second and grants you double radar resolution while crouched. Echo of Domineering allows suppressing an enemy to grant 30 mobility and a 4% forward movement speed bonus for 10 seconds and refills the ready weapon. The buff's duration serves as a cooldown. Killing suppressed enemies grants a Void Breach. Echo of Exchange grants grenade energy on melee kills based on enemy rank. Tier 1 combatants grant 7.5%, Tier 2 11%, Tier 3 16.25%, and Tier 4 bosses and mini-bosses 25%. Echo of Expulsion allows void ability kills to cause enemies to explode, dealing 160 base damage in a 7-meter radius. Echo of Harvest allows kills on weakened enemies to create an orb of power that grants 2.5% super energy. It also creates a Void Breach. A 10-second cooldown is incurred when an orb of power is created. Echo of Instability causes grenade kills to grant volatile rounds to your weapons for 11 seconds. Volatile rounds make any hit with a void weapon apply volatile. Echo of Leeching causes melee kills to begin health regeneration for you and any nearby allies. Echo of Obscurity allows finishers to grant invisibility for 4.8 seconds. Echo of Persistence causes void buffs to generally last 50% longer. Echo of Provision causes dealing grenade damage to grant melee energy. It may only activate once per damage instance, and hitting multiple enemies counts as one instance. Scatter, Spike, Void Wall, and Vortex grenades grants 3% melee energy per instant, and Axion, Magnetic, and Suppressor grenades grant 8% melee energy per instance. Echo of Remnants will cause your Void grenades to last longer. Spike grenades last 40% longer, Void Wall grenades last 60% longer, and Vortex grenades last 50% longer. We do not currently have the values for the Axion Bolt grenade. Echo of Reprisal causes being surrounded by 3+ enemies in an 8-meter radius to grant additional super energy per kill. Each enemy after the 3rd and up to the 7th grants even more super energy each. A 1-second cooldown is incurred between activations. Echo of Starvation allows picking up an orb of power to grant Devour for 5 seconds. Echo of Undermining causes void grenades to apply Weaken on hit for 5 seconds. Lastly, Echo of Vigilance grants a void overshield for 5 seconds upon killing an enemy while at critical health. This overshield duration is increased to 7.5 seconds with the Echo of Persistence. An 8-second cooldown is incurred after activation. Alright, this should cover pretty much all you need to know about Sentinels to get started build crafting or playing around with the subclass. I will leave a link to the Destiny Data Compendium if you want to perform further research. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe and enable notifications to ensure that you do not miss any of my uploads. The next guide will be posted next Thursday and will be covering raid and dungeon basics. Thank you for watching and happy farming.